Fern, welcome to Winning the Home Game and coming all the way over to Seattle from the east side today.
Yes,
How was traffic?
traffic was rough.
Okay, sorry.
It's good. It's
Okay,
good.
okay. We'll make it worth your while.
Yes, I appreciate
Okay, and we met 4 or 5 years ago through a mutual friend, and since then you've helped clients. You've actually helped some of my relatives, and it's pretty awesome. You do such a great job. So I'm excited to have you here today because I think that having a financial advisor is so critical for anyone who has a stock portfolio or just wants to build their retirement. And when it comes to us, which is all about mortgages, when you buy a home too, it's really important to really you know research that aspect. And so yeah, we're excited to hear all the great things that you're going to talk about today.
Well, I'm looking forward to being here. And I know, buying a home is one of your most important financial decisions. So it's nice that it's a part of our holistic financial plan.
Right. Wonderful. Okay, let's get right into it. Okay, so when is the right time for someone to start working with a wealth strategist? Is it once they've bought a home, starting to invest, or even earlier? Like, what do you think?
My experience is, it's the sooner the better. Okay. It's really important to start with a sound financial plan. I think a lot of people have this misconception that, you have to have a lot of investments, you have to buy the house and then maybe start then. But it's really important to look at this from a point of view of how does it fit into your greater financial plan? Where do you start? If you're wealthy, well, they started somewhere and they had guidance, advice, understanding on how to get to the end goal. And that's really where a good financial planner, well, strategist can come into play. And a lot of them will do pay by fee. So it's a great way to just get agnostic advice, see how it works into your financial plan, and then really start to get a good financial game plan moving forward.
So really no age.
No age. I mean, as soon as you start to have wealth, I mean, we have a lot of clients who bring their children in and give them some good financial habits early so that they're going in the right direction. And then they can build on those concepts and philosophies over time.
I love that. I will be doing that soon too with you. I'll be calling you. Love that. All right. What are the biggest misconceptions you hear about financial advisors or wealth strategists?
Well, I think there's two, really. They're always for the wealthy. And I mean, it's like, how do the wealthy get there, right?
Right.
If they're wealthy, they usually have a team of financial advisors, whether it's a mortgage broker, a CPA, a financial advisor. And so I think that's number one, is that you should start as soon as you can, as we said. The second thing is it's just about investments. I think a lot of people look at a financial advisor as, well, I can do that because I have my ETF portfolio or whatever, and I do just as fine job. But I think there's this idea that you have to look at financial planning. It's the concept of left brain, right brain coming together. And there's a lot of emotional context in a plan. And we often, I mean, if we could have the best portfolio, we would look at the S&P 500 and just say, hey, what does that run rate look like over the last 10 years? It's really good. But there's a lot of emotional context to that. Can I withstand or stomach the April downturns, right? That we just recently had? Or how does it fit into my greater plan? But I like to say, you got to be able to answer 3 questions. When can I retire? What does it look like once I get there? And what does it take to get there, right? And if you don't have that answer to those questions, there's a lot of different components that get us there, right?
Right.
Homes just being one of those things that help us find that.
So if somebody said to you, I want to retire at 55, you would be able to give them a plan.
Absolutely.
Okay. I love that. That's great. You talk about helping clients create financial efficiencies and avoiding money mistakes you witnessed in your life earlier. For a first-time homebuyer, what's one financial mistake you'd say is most common and most avoidable?
I think one of the biggest things for a first-time homebuyer is looking at this purchase as an investment. I mean, if they think about, I find too often they're looking for the white picket fence and the long-term goal and the long-term plan, but a lot of these first-time homes end up being a stepping stone. So how does it fit into their greater financial plan? Like, can we rent it down the road? Does it have good rentability? How does it fit to their growth of their plan? And how is the appreciation of the community that they're looking at? I think that's where they have to look at a holistic solution, a mortgage broker, financial planner, and a real estate agent as a collective unit to be able to look at that house purchase and say, does this really fit? And what is the next step once we buy this home? Are we going to look at upgrading? Are we going to look at downsizing? Are we going to, how does it fit into the plan?
Right. Perfect. What's your recommended approach for someone with variable compensation like stock grants, RSUs, bonuses, who wants to buy a home? How do you budget and plan when income isn't strictly salary? And in our market here, we're right here in Lake Union. So across is Meta, behind us is Google, to the left is Amazon, and everywhere else. So this is really, most of our Seattle clients are facing this today.
Absolutely. Whether it's stock-based compensation, commissionable compensation, bonus compensation. I think when you're looking at a home purchase, you have to look at the foundation of your income. Now, I know a lot of folks will look at, well, that doesn't buy me a home that I want or that I need, or in this community, maybe it's that I can afford. So you have to start to, bring in these secondary compensation structures.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to be careful about, the volatility in the marketplace and kind of saying, hey, yeah, that 100% stock today will be exactly what I can use a year or 2 years from now as it vests.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to look at that as, at least take a percentage of it, 30, 40%, and look at that as a part of your bonus compensation. What is the strategy that you're looking at selling? Are you going to retain? And there's a lot of other kind of more sophisticated solutions like a securities-backed line of credit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way to create some stability if there's volatility in RSU markets, stock,
Right.
investment portfolios. And so there's a great way to kind of also hedge, if you will, the volatility in the market by basically taking a line of credit against those stocks.
Instead of selling
Exactly.
because of the penalties.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it could be taxes. It could be capital gains realizations. It could be just the volatility in the market. I mean, what if you were looking at buying a house in April of 2025?
Right.
The market's down 17, 18%, and all of a sudden you are getting a little squirmish about selling stock.
Right.
Well, now we're at 17% highs, and you've had a 30 to 40% swing in them in just the market, not alone some of these companies you recognize. So it's an opportunity for them to hedge the risk of what could be volatile, and making sure that there's some protections against that. Invest some of that into more secure, diversified investments.
In the lending world, I mean, we can use that, their RSU income, we can use that as income, which is amazing, which qualifies a lot of our clients for even a higher purchase price.
Exactly.
But today they actually buy at, a lower amount than what they're approved for. But it's interesting because they have their accounts are with Vanguard or Fidelity, and they can't really speak to somebody about it. That's why it's such an advantage to talk to somebody like you who can actually guide them and help them.
Absolutely. And being able to have that third party, agnostic party is really nice to have as a resource, just to pay for a plan.
Right.
Right.
Are there any tax pitfalls or timing issues you see when someone sells vested stocks to fund a down payment? And what should they ask their financial advisor and lender ahead of time?
Yeah, I think this is a really important concept. One of the things they need to do is basically make sure that they are looking at how much they should put down. A lot of folks don't like debt, and I get that. You got to make sure that you have good debt and bad debt. Mortgage debt can be a good piece of debt, right? And I think the misconception is you got to have 20 or 30% down. In a lot of cases, we like 10% down.
Okay. At what purchase price?
At most purchase prices, it's really, again, a function of what is the affordability of the mortgage payment at the end of the day, right? But you got to be careful about stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. And I think one of the things you have to look at is what is the stock making in the market versus what I can get on as far as a mortgage, right? If you're getting in the sixes right now, that may sound high comparably to the last 10 years, but a lot of these stocks are making 15, 20%. Right. And you're over here selling a 15, 20% asset to pay a 6% debt.
Great point.
Right. And that doesn't make a lot of sense. So there's a lot of different ways you could look at maybe a securities backed line of credit to functionally get you the down payment for that 10%.
Right.
That 20%, if you choose, that's what it fits in your budget. I think you also have to look at the tax complications, right? So being able to make sure that you're being smart about what you're selling, how much you're selling is very important.
Love that. Once a home is bought, how should your clients think about home ownership in the context of their wider portfolio and wealth building strategy?
Once the home's bought, I think you have to look at it as an asset class, right? There's no silver bullets in financial planning. There's no one thing that's going to be the best thing out there. And I think once it's bought, you have to look at how does this fit into my plan? Like I said earlier, is maybe it's a part of your rentals strategy down the road. Are we going to rent it when we get the next house? If we have children and we outgrow this space, what does that look like? Where do we get the down payment for that house, for the next house? How does renting fit into my greater financial plan? How does selling fit into my greater financial plan? Right. And I think there's a lot of different opportunities when you sit down, look at a financial plan, you look at all the aspects of your taxes and your wealth and your accumulation. And you say, what is the best strategy, and model out those scenarios. What does it look like if I sell? What if it does it look like if I rent? And, how do I save the stock and the RSUs in my plan and achieve those goals?
Is that something that you would talk to the clients about specifically? All that.
I think it's something that you have to make sure that if you're going to sit down with a financial advisor / planner, that you get those answers.
I love that. All right. The fun stuff. Okay, ready for this?
Okay.
This is called the home stretch. What's one money tip you live by?
I think
There must be a lot.
There is. And one thing I would say that really struck me early is you got to pay yourself first. A lot of folks look at, paying the bills, making sure they get debt free and all these things, but at the detriment to themselves, right? You have a COVID, which was, who'd ever thunk that was something that was possible. And you don't have the assets to go be able to do the things you need to do, right? You can't always control getting laid off. And so having some wealth for yourself is really important.
So paying yourself, you mean saving?
Saving.
Okay.
You need to kind of find a financial strategy that works. And one of the things I'd say in that saving more specifically is not just your retirement and your emergency fund. There's a lot of life between those two phases. And so we have to look at what are the layers of investments you're putting into your portfolio that allow you to tier into different tax structures, risk structures as well.
Is there a rule of thumb for a minimum amount you should save every month on a fixed income?
There is no rule of thumb. It's got to be what fits your budget.
Okay.
I think you have to be smart. If you could ideally have a perfect scenario, it'd be a third, right?
Okay.
But it really just comes down to sitting down, what makes sense, how do you live your life, what are the priorities, what are the needs, what are the wants, and how do we kind of balance those?
Right. Love that. All right. The real fun stuff. What kitchen appliance or household item is something that you can't live without right now? And this can change. Like for us, the Ninja Creamy was really big for a while. What about you?
Well, I'm not trying to be too weird or too corny here, but I really got to say a vision board.
Oh, great. I love that.
It's one of the things I thought that really kind of help you focus on where you want to go.
Yeah.
And I think it can feel hokey and can feel like, oh, that's immature, but a vision board, this is what successful people do, right? They have a clear vision and they have the focus on it every single day. I mean, eye on the prize, right?
Right.
I think if you know where you're going, you know where you're headed, you're going to get there eventually.
Right. I don't know if you noticed that, Fern, but I have 3 of them in this room today.
I do. Successful people.
I love it.
Focused.
Yeah. In fact, I'm having a vision board party in a couple of weeks. I'm excited about. Yeah. We do it with our team too. It's so important to know where you're going, just like you said.
Yeah.
Love that. All right. How do you advise first-time buyers to balance savings for a home with other goals like retirement, paying off student loans, investing, et cetera? We kind of got into it a little bit already, but what do you think?
Sure. I think, you got to pay yourself first. Back to that one point, right? I think you also have to look at the opportunities that exist. And so what I mean by that is your 401k. Too often I see people not investing in their 401k plan and not even just getting the match.
Right.
Right. If you think of a match, it's 100% return up to the match.
So you're a big believer in max out your 401k and get it.
At least max out the match.
Okay, max out the match.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not trying to say I would love for you to max it out, but again, that goes back to that balance.
Right.
I don't want all your assets in retirement and none of it in the emergency or mid parts of life. So get the match. At least start with the free money that's on the table, right? A lot of folks have opportunities to invest in stock purchase plans where they're getting 15 or 10% down, off the stock. That's free money. That's compensation that this company is going to give you and has said,
Crazy.
We are willing to give this to you, right? And then too often people are willing to just overlook that piece of it.
Right.
And then I think you also have to look at, obviously paying bills, right? Where's my my focus on debt. You know, again, there's good debt and bad debt. I'm not a fan of credit card debt. I'm not a fan of those things that really put us in a worse situation. But, you know, I mean, a lot of times you can focus on different ways to pay your student loans, you know, student loan payments by income. So there's a lot of cool options that you can, you know, look at, but you really got to sometimes it just takes sitting down with somebody, having them give you some oversight, some insight, and things that you may know already, but just validate your own decisions.
So if someone has, you know, credit card debt in the 20% range, do you advise them to pay that off first before investing in their 401k?
I would say no, because you got to have a balance.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I would say you got to get the free money, right?
Okay.
And then, you know, have the rest of it go to credit card debt, but have a strategy to paying that credit card debt. I think too many people pay it as a uniform strategy across all boards. And I think there's a lot of really creative ways that you can look at by paying down that debt, where it's kind of a snowball effect or the waterfall effect, right? And there's these different kind of concepts that exist that you can either look up online, or you can sit down with a financial advisor that'll help you strategize that.
Love that. All right. How do you help someone assess the risk of being over concentrated in company stock versus readying for a home purchase? And at what point do you recommend diversifying?
Yes, this is a good one. And I think it has a couple pieces that are important to discuss. One, if you're buying something within 6 months, I don't care where the market's at, make sure you sell it right away. Sell the stock that you're going to use for the down payment right away.
Right away.
Right away, because we got to be careful. What if it goes up? What if it goes down?
Right.
And too often I'm like, oh, we're going to chance it. And as we chanced it, markets dropped. And now we're having to sell more shares to equal the same amount that we're going to raise before, because we have purchase and sales coming up. We have deadlines. We have all these things. So I'm a big fan of trying to get ahead of the problem, even though at the risk of the upside.
Okay. So if they sell the stock right away, if they know they're going to buy in 6 months, sell it right away, put it in a money market account.
Yeah. If you have a goal in 6 months or a year, like, be careful about that, right? There's too much volatility that could happen, you know, unexpectedly.
Right. So it's better to be safe.
Right. Better be safe. Put it in a high yield savings account, something that gives you a lot higher return than what maybe your savings account would give you, but at least protected, guaranteed, and has some opportunity to be able to be there for when you need it.
I love that. I haven't heard that before. How often should someone revisit their financial plan after buying the home, and what key indicators should trigger a reevaluation?
Absolutely. I think you have to look at it annually at least, right? Our laws change. I mean, it may not be your life. It could be just the laws change. What are the opportunities that exist? And so at least annually. But then you should reevaluate if any life events happen, whether you've changed jobs, whether you've had a child, or, you know, you've gotten married, or, you know, some of the big events that happen in our life. Have a check-in, have a call, just have the ability to have a resource to be able to reference if something changes in your life and say, hey, am I still on track?
Right.
Maybe there's a big volatility change. That's an opportunity to go buy into something that's on sale, right? Everybody gets scared when markets drop, but these are great opportunities to invest cash that's maybe sitting on the sidelines.
Right.
If markets go up, should we take a little bit off the table if we feel like there's a goal within a year or 6 months that we should be focusing on?
How often do you meet with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we meet with our clients depending on their needs. We like to meet no less than twice a year.
Okay.
Right. But for the large part of our more sophisticated, wealthier clients, we try to meet at least 4 times a year to make sure that every quarter we have some sort of gate that's it's being focused on. I think there's a lot of things in the year that you have to kind of focus on. One could be taxes. What's your tax strategy by the end of the year? 2, let's reset your goals. What's your first quarter goals? What are we trying to achieve this year? In the middle of the year, we focus on plan adjustments. Hey, are there any plan adjustments that are happening? Anything that we're seeing? Any vacations we need to plan for? Any unexpected expenses?
Right.
And so just making sure that you have this gate and strategy, and more importantly, this relationship with the partners that you have in your financial plan.
Right. So you, as a financial advisor and wealth strategist, do you have a group of people that you can refer clients to who need to have a trust, who need to have a CPA, all that stuff?
Yes. And I think a good financial planner, a wealth strategist, has this network of people that they can help you kind of get those answers. In our firm, we are often focused on, tax planning. So not necessarily tax advice, and we're not, trying to be your CPA. We're not trying to do your taxes, but there's a plan. There's a strategy to things, right? And how do we kind of look at it from a holistic point of view, top down? And then second is, what's our estate plan look like? Is our will in place? Is our trust in place? When's the last time we reviewed this? Our recommendations here, at least looking at these documents every 3 years minimum. I personally like to look at them every 2 years just because a lot of laws have changed recently.
Right.
And, also have to look at, eventually mortgage again. We had that moment where there was refinance opportunities and, debt needs to be reevaluated. So I think there's this kind of concept that you have to look at all these things holistically and then work with a partner that has good relationships, solid relationships that'll help them solve those problems.
The CPAs and trust attorneys, do they go to you because you have the same client, you all work together, or how does that work?
Oftentimes I'll say that we find the people that match our clients' needs, right? And so we have to have if you will, a Rolodex or an address book of different people that will serve different kind of communities, if you will. If you're fairly complex, well, you're going to need somebody that understands the complexity.
Right.
And that usually comes with a little bit of a price.
Right.
If you're pretty simple, well, you don't need to be introduced to that person that necessarily charges a lot more premium because of their skill set, right? And so we might have somebody that serves you just fine. So it's just making sure that there's the appropriate professional for where you are in life.
Okay. Is there a certain amount of money where someone needs to get a trust? Like if they have a certain net worth, what is that? They need a trust attorney. Like what is that number?
Absolutely. I think that's another big misconception.
Okay.
Trusts are out there and we think they're for wealthy people. They're really about control and taxes.
Okay.
That's it, right? So if I want control, I have kids, right? And if God forbid I were to pass prematurely before they turn 18 or even early in their 20s or something like that, the last thing I'd want them to have is all the wealth that would go to them.
Right.
So I'd put a trust in place to just have control. It's a revocable trust. It's a living trust. And it gives them it gives you, the parent, the ability to parent them well beyond your grave and for as long as you want,
Right.
But if you have, in the state of Washington, it's one of the most expensive states to die in. So if you have an estate that's more than $2 million, you do have to look at more complex trust planning, more complex situations, because now you're a victim to estate taxes, death taxes. Okay. And there's easy ways to fix a lot of that problems in the lower net worths, $4 to $5, $6 million. Above that, you really have to get a little bit more complex, and there's a lot of strategies that exist.
Do you believe in having an insurance policy for the taxes once you pass?
I think it's a great asset class. It's a great way to kind of pay death taxes if that's what you're looking to do. And what's oftentimes needed is if you have a very illiquid estate. So a lot of people may have a lot of real estate and you don't want to have a fire sale if you pass to be able to pay the death taxes. So having liquidity that comes in, that the solution solves the problem, life insurance and an ILIT, an irrevocable life insurance trust.
That is a great idea.
Can be used very easily. And there are so many really sophisticated strategies out there that we specialize in that helps people pay for these in a very economical way.
Love it. All right, here we are, the home game highlights. If you could give one piece of advice to a first-time home buyer, what would that be?
I think my biggest thing has always been, look at this as an investment. It's not going to be the white picket fence, the place where you're going to live your life forever. If I could, try to look at multi-units, right? Duplex, threeplex, fourplex, those all single family residences.
Right.
I think you can also look at, with Washington state law, you can look at places where you can put an ADU or a DADU. And there's some really cool ways to have a single family residence turn into a multi-channel of income.
I love that. So it's really evident that, someone needs a professional to talk to, because like you said, there's so many strategies that we don't even know about. I don't even know about.
Right.
So we need to make an appointment soon.
Yes.
To talk more. Okay, good. Well, where can people find you today? We are going to put your information in our podcast notes for everybody to see, but are you anywhere else? Are you on social by chance?
We're on social. We have a website, and we are local, but we also do a lot of Zoom, and we have a great team that helps our clients.
How big is your team today?
We have 5 advisors on our sales team.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And who's your ideal client?
I want to make sure we can approach everybody, and that everybody has the opportunity to get served, right?
Right.
So we have advisors at all levels to help with all complexities. As I said earlier, you want the professional to match the person they're working with.
Right.
So from advisors that are very, very good and just getting started to advisors that have been in the business for 20, 30 years, right? With all the designations necessary. We have everybody that can serve any community.
I love that. That's great. I don't think a lot of firms have that. So that's really, really great.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good. Thank you so much, Fern. This is I learned some stuff today. There's a lot of, we have a lot of honestly wealthy people in our market buying their first home. So I think this is going to be perfect for them to listen to. And I hope they're going to reach out to you.
I appreciate your time.
Okay. Thanks, Fern.
All right, see ya.